If you want to be the kind of person that nobody dares to mess with, the first and most important thing you need to do is put your own house in order. That might sound simple, almost trivial, but it's anything but. People who command respect, who stand firm in the face of challenge, are those who have built themselves into something strong. And you don't become strong if your life is a mess. Think about it. If your environment is chaotic, if your mind is cluttered, if your habits are weak, how can you possibly expect to project power? You can't. People pick up on disorder. They notice it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, and how you react to stress. If you don't have control over yourself, why would anyone believe you could handle external challenges? That's why the first step to becoming truly formidable is to start with yourself. That means setting your life in order from the smallest details to the biggest. It starts in your immediate surroundings. Clean your room, organize your workspace, keep your car in good condition. You might think these things don't matter, that they're insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but they aren't. These small acts of order set the foundation for discipline. If you can't keep your own space under control, how can you expect to control anything else? But it doesn't stop at your physical environment. The next step is sorting out your habits. What do your daily routines look like? Do you wake up at a consistent time, or do you let the day dictate itself? Do you eat well, train your body, sharpen your mind, or do you drift through your days, acting on impulse, letting distractions and temptations dictate your actions? People who are easy to push around are often those who have no discipline. They're inconsistent, they make promises they don't keep, they say they'll start something but never follow through. And because they lack structure, they lack confidence. If you want to be someone that others don't mess with, you need to become the kind of person who sets a goal and sees it through. That means doing what you said you would do, even when it's inconvenient, even when you don't feel like it. It means showing up every day and making yourself just a little better than you were yesterday. Discipline isn't about feeling motivated, it's about acting despite how you feel. If you only do things when they're easy, you're training yourself to be weak. Another crucial part of getting your house in order is taking responsibility for everything in your life. This is something that most people refuse to do. They blame their problems on external factors, their upbringing, bad luck, other people, the system. But as long as you're pointing fingers at something outside of yourself, you're giving away your power. The moment you take full responsibility, everything changes. Even if something isn't your fault, it's still your responsibility. If you're unhappy with your job, don't complain, fix it. If your relationships are strained, don't blame the other person. Ask yourself what you can do to improve them. If your finances are a mess, don't make excuses. Start learning how to manage money properly. The people who command the most respect are the ones who own their lives completely. And let's be clear, this isn't about perfection. You will never have everything under complete control. There will always be chaos in life, always elements outside your influence. But what you can do is manage what is within your reach. The stronger your foundation, the less the external chaos will shake you. That's what makes a person untouchable. It's not that they don't face problems, it's that they are prepared for them. They have built themselves into someone who can withstand pressure, who can handle the unexpected, who can adapt and overcome. And when you reach that level, people notice. There's something about a person who has their life in order that makes others think twice before challenging them. It's not just about looking tough or speaking with confidence. It's the deep, undeniable presence of someone who is solid, someone who is grounded, someone who cannot be easily swayed. That's what makes you formidable. Not threats, not bravado, but the quiet, steady strength of a person who has taken full control of their own existence. So if you want to become the kind of person nobody dares to mess with, start where you have the most control, yourself. Clean up your surroundings, strengthen your habits, take responsibility for everything in your life, build a foundation so strong that no storm can shake you. Because the truth is, most people aren't beaten by others, they're beaten by their own weakness. If you eliminate that, if you put your own house in order, you'll find that the world treats you very differently. as she sat watching the world go by. You cannot be strong in this world if your mind and body are weak. Strength is not just about muscles or intellect in isolation. It is the union of the two, working together to create a person who is capable, disciplined, and unshakable. A weak body limits the mind's ability to endure, and a weak mind allows the body to be dominated by laziness, fear, and excuses. If you want to become the kind of person that others respect, that no one dares to mess with, you must forge both your physical and mental strength. Let's start with the body. Too many people underestimate the impact of their physical condition on their confidence, presence, and overall resilience. The way you move, the way you carry yourself, even the way you think, all of it is influenced by your physical state. If you are out of shape, sluggish, and undisciplined with your health, it shows. People who are physically weak often struggle with self-respect, and if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect others to respect you? Training your body is not just about looking good, it's about developing capability. A strong body gives you endurance, energy, and a commanding presence. When you build physical strength, you train yourself to handle discomfort. Every time you lift weights, push yourself through exhaustion, or resist the temptation to indulge in laziness, you are reinforcing the idea that you are in control of yourself. Discipline in one area of life spills into others. If you can force yourself to work out even when you don't feel like it, you can force yourself to have difficult conversations, to stand up for yourself, to take on challenges that others shy away from. Strength breeds confidence, and confidence changes how the world treats you. But strength is not just about the body. A strong body without a strong mind is nothing but brute force with no direction. Mental strength is what allows you to handle pressure, to think clearly in chaos, to persist when things get difficult. Most people crumble under stress because they have never trained their minds to endure discomfort. They avoid hardship, seek constant entertainment, and distract themselves from anything that might cause them to struggle. But the truth is, if you don't train your mind to handle adversity, the world will break you the first time it throws something difficult in your path. Mental strength comes from exposure to challenge. If you never do anything difficult, your threshold for discomfort remains low. The smallest setbacks feel like insurmountable obstacles. But if you consistently push yourself by taking on responsibility, by forcing yourself to learn new skills, by putting yourself in situations that demand focus and resilience, you expand your capacity to endure. The person who has faced hardship and overcome it is far more formidable than the one who has lived in comfort and convenience. One of the simplest ways to strengthen your mind is to embrace struggle rather than avoid it. When something is hard, do it anyway. When you feel like quitting, keep going for a little longer. When you're tired, push yourself just a bit further. Every time you override your instincts to take the easy way out, you are training yourself to be mentally unbreakable. And when you reach that point, where struggle does not scare you, where difficulty does not make you hesitate, you become someone that people respect because they know you are not easily shaken. Another critical aspect of mental strength is controlling your emotions. People who are ruled by their emotions are easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, and easy to break. If someone can say a few words and throw you into a rage, they control you. If a bit of criticism makes you spiral into self-doubt, you are not in charge of your own mind. Strength is about mastering yourself, your impulses, your reactions, your thoughts. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but rather understanding them, controlling them, and using them to your advantage rather than letting them use you. You can build this kind of mental control by practicing discipline in small things. Wake up at the time you said you would, even when you don't feel like it. Stick to your commitments, even when they become inconvenient. Push through boredom and frustration instead of giving in to distractions. Read books that challenge you instead of endlessly scrolling on your phone. Engage in deep conversations instead of avoiding difficult topics. The more you train yourself to handle discomfort in these small ways, the more prepared you will be when real challenges arise. Strengthening your mind and body is not just about becoming tough, it is about becoming capable. A weak person cannot protect themselves, cannot stand their ground, cannot be relied upon when things get difficult. A strong person, on the other hand, inspires confidence, not just in others, but in themselves. When you know you can handle pain, difficulty, and adversity, you walk differently, you speak differently, and people notice. If you want to be the kind of person that nobody dares to mess with, start by forging yourself into someone who is unshakable. Train your mind so that you can endure stress and control your emotions, because in the end, true strength is not about overpowering others, it is about mastering yourself. And once you do that, you will find that the world treats you very differently. Aggression is a powerful force. It is raw energy, a drive to push forward, to assert, to defend, to dominate when necessary. But aggression in its uncontrolled form is destructive. It makes people reckless, impulsive, and unpredictable. That kind of aggression doesn't command respect. It makes people see you as a loose cannon, someone to be avoided, not admired. The real power lies in controlled aggression. The ability to harness that force, to direct it with precision and discipline, is what separates those who are feared from those who are simply angry. Most people misunderstand aggression. They see it as something negative, something that should be suppressed. They confuse it with violence or hostility. But aggression itself is neither good nor bad. It is a tool, a force of nature within you that can be shaped. If you suppress it entirely, you weaken yourself. You become passive, hesitant, unable to take action when action is required. But if you let it control you, if you allow it to flare up unchecked, you become unpredictable and easily manipulated. The key is to master it, to turn it into a weapon you can wield with precision when the moment demands it. Controlled aggression starts with awareness. You must understand where your aggressive energy comes from. Is it frustration, a sense of injustice, a deep desire to win, to prove yourself, to assert your dominance over a challenge? When you understand the source, you can begin to channel it effectively. Rather than letting it explode in a fit of rage or suppressing it into weakness, you train yourself to direct it toward productive action. The first and most important step in mastering controlled aggression is discipline. You must be in control of yourself before you can control your aggression. If your emotions dictate your actions, then you are not strong, you are simply reactive. The strongest people are not those who lash out at every slight, but those who can feel the intensity of their aggression building and choose when and how to release it. This is the difference between an undisciplined fighter who throws wild punches and a trained warrior who strikes with precision and purpose. One way to develop this discipline is through physical training. Combat sports, weightlifting, endurance training, all of these teach you how to push through pain and frustration, how to summon aggression when you need it and keep it in check when you don't. Training in controlled environments forces you to learn patience, strategy, and self-restraint. You learn not to lash out wildly, but to calculate your movements, to conserve your energy, to strike only when the moment is right. These are skills that extend beyond the physical and into the psychological. Controlled aggression is also about presence. People who have mastered it carry themselves differently. They don't walk around looking for fights or trying to prove themselves because they don't need to. They know what they are capable of, and that knowledge gives them a quiet confidence. They don't waste energy on meaningless confrontations, but when the time comes to stand their ground, they do so with absolute certainty. That is what makes them formidable. Another critical aspect of controlled aggression is knowing when to use it. Not every situation requires an aggressive response. There are times when patience and diplomacy are more effective, and a person who understands their own power will not waste it on trivial conflicts. But when the moment calls for it, when someone is trying to take advantage of you, when you are faced with an obstacle that requires sheer force of will, when it is time to defend what matters, that is when aggression must be unleashed with full intensity. And because it has been controlled, because it has been chosen, it is far more effective than mindless rage. This applies not just in physical confrontations, but in every area of life. Controlled aggression is the ability to push forward when others hesitate, to attack problems with intensity, to refuse to back down in the face of adversity. It is what allows an athlete to push through exhaustion in the final moments of a competition, what drives an entrepreneur to keep grinding even when success seems distant, what gives a leader the strength to stand firm under pressure. It is the force behind every major achievement. And those who master it find that they can accomplish what others cannot. But the key word is controlled. If your aggression owns you, if it turns you into someone who is constantly in conflict, then it is no longer a weapon. It is a liability. That is why the strongest people are often the calmest. They are not easily provoked. because they do not need to prove their strength. They do not waste their energy on petty battles, but when the time comes for action, they do not hesitate. To master controlled aggression, you must train it like any other skill. You must push yourself in situations where you feel the urge to lash out and practice holding it back until the right moment. You must learn to direct it toward goals, toward self-improvement, toward overcoming obstacles, rather than reacting emotionally to every challenge. And above all, you must recognize that aggression is a tool, one that when mastered makes you powerful beyond measure. A person with no aggression is weak, easily pushed around, unable to stand their ground. A person with uncontrolled aggression is reckless, constantly burning bridges, making enemies, and sabotaging themselves. But a person who has mastered their aggression, who knows when to unleash it and when to hold back, who can direct it toward productive action, that person is truly formidable. That is the person that nobody dares to mess with. As she sat watching the world go by, most people spend their lives chasing approval. They shape their words, their actions, and even their thoughts based on what others might think. They hesitate before speaking, afraid of saying something that won't be well received. They follow trends, opinions, and expectations that aren't even their own simply because they want to fit in. But the brutal truth is this: seeking approval makes you weak. It puts your sense of worth in the hands of other people, making you dependent on their validation to feel good about yourself. And that is no way to live. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become free. Free to think for yourself, to speak with conviction, to act in alignment with your own values rather than someone else's expectations. You stop being a follower and start becoming someone who is truly independent. And the irony is, the less you seek approval, the more people respect you. Confidence is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who stand their ground, who do not constantly seek permission to exist, who are comfortable in their own skin. Why do people seek approval in the first place? At the core of it is fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of criticism, the fear of standing alone. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek validation. We are rewarded for behaving in ways that please others and punished either directly or indirectly for stepping outside the lines. Over time, this conditioning makes many people dependent on external affirmation. They feel uneasy if they don't get enough likes on social media, if someone disagrees with them, if they sense even the slightest disapproval. This mindset is a prison, and the only way out is to decide that you no longer need anyone's permission to be yourself. The first step to breaking free from this cycle is realizing that no matter what you do, some people will disapprove. It is impossible to please everyone. If you are bold and confident, some people will call you arrogant. If you are reserved and thoughtful, some will call you weak. If you focus on your own goals, some will say you're selfish. If you try to help others, some will say you're doing it for attention. No matter which path you choose, there will always be critics. Once you accept this, seeking approval becomes pointless. The second step is to develop a strong internal sense of worth. Instead of looking outward for validation, you must build an unshakable belief in yourself. This means setting your own standards. Instead of asking, "Do they like me?" ask, "Do I respect myself?" Instead of wondering, "Do they approve of my choices?" ask, "Am I making the right choices for myself?" Approval from others is fleeting. It can disappear the moment you stop conforming to their expectations, but self-respect, once cultivated, stays with you no matter what. One of the fastest ways to build self-respect is to start making your own decisions, even in small ways. Stop defaulting to what others expect. If you don't agree with something, say so. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. If you have an opinion, express it. At first, this may feel uncomfortable, but the more you practice, the stronger you become. You start realizing that you don't need everyone's approval to live your life. This doesn't mean being rude, reckless, or ignoring constructive feedback. It means knowing the difference between seeking approval and seeking truth. Seeking truth is about understanding what is right and acting accordingly, even if it is unpopular. Seeking approval, on the other hand, is about acting based on what will get the least resistance. One is based on strength, the other is based on fear. People who constantly seek approval are easy to manipulate. They are desperate to be liked, so they conform to whatever will keep them in good standing with others. They avoid confrontation, even when it's necessary. They tolerate disrespect because they are afraid of making enemies. But in doing so, they weaken themselves. They sacrifice their own opinions, desires, and self-respect in exchange for temporary validation. And the worst part, the people they are trying to impress rarely even respect them for it. When you stop seeking approval, something interesting happens. You start attracting respect from the right people. Those who value strength and authenticity will recognize it in you. They will respect you because you are firm in your beliefs, because you are not easily swayed, because you do not bend to pressure just to fit in. And those who dislike you, they were never worth impressing in the first place. This mindset shift is powerful. It allows you to operate with confidence rather than insecurity. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop second-guessing every decision, every word, every action. You realize that your worth is not determined by how many people agree with you, but by how closely you live in alignment with your own principles. At the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with yourself. The opinions of others come and go, but your self-respect stays with you forever. The sooner you stop seeking approval, the sooner you become truly free. And when you are free, when you are no longer desperate for validation, you become someone that others respect, not because you ask for it, but because you earned it. Life is full of dragons. They come in many forms: fear, failure, self-doubt, hardship, and pain. These dragons stand in your way, keeping you from becoming the person you are meant to be. Most people spend their lives avoiding them. They distract themselves, run from discomfort, and pretend their problems don't exist. But avoidance never makes the dragon disappear. In fact, it only makes it grow stronger. The only way forward is to face it. You must stand before the thing that terrifies you, look it in the eyes, and refuse to back down. But facing the dragon is not enough. You must also tame it. Some people confront their fears but do so recklessly, allowing themselves to be consumed by rage, panic, or desperation. That is not mastery. The true goal is not just to stand against the dragon, but to control it, to harness its power rather than be destroyed by it. This is what separates those who are merely brave from those who are truly strong. The first step in facing the dragon is acknowledging its existence. Many people live in denial. They tell themselves that their problems aren't that bad, that their fears are irrational, that they don't need to deal with their inner struggles. But deep down, they know the truth. They feel the weight of the things they refuse to confront. They feel the anxiety creeping in, the dissatisfaction eating away at them. The longer they ignore the dragon, the larger it grows. So the first act of courage is honesty. What is your dragon? Is it fear of failure? Fear of rejection? An addiction? A weakness? A flaw you refuse to acknowledge? Is it past trauma, deep-seated insecurity, or the voice in your head telling you that you are not good enough? You must name it. You must recognize it for what it is and stop running from it. Because here is the hard truth. Everything you want in life, every goal worth achieving, lies on the other side of that dragon. Once you have identified your dragon, you must move toward it. This is the moment that separates those who remain weak from those who grow strong. Most people turn away. They feel fear rising in their chest and take that as a sign to retreat. But fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are moving in the right direction. Growth only happens when you step outside of your comfort zone. The more discomfort you are willing to face, the stronger you become. This is not about reckless action. Facing the dragon does not mean charging in blindly, swinging wildly, and hoping for the best. That is how people get burned. Instead, you must approach with strategy and discipline. If your dragon is fear of failure, you start by taking small risks, building resilience with each step. If your dragon is self-doubt, you confront it by proving to yourself through action that you are capable. If your dragon is a past trauma, you work through it with understanding, patience, and deliberate effort. Facing the dragon is not about brute force. It is about controlled, intentional confrontation. But facing the dragon is only the first step. The true goal is to tame it. And that requires mastery over yourself. Many people allow their dragons to consume them, turning their fear into anger, their pain into self-destruction. They face their struggles, but do so in a way that makes them bitter, resentful, or reckless. That is not strength. That is just another form of weakness. True strength is learning how to control your emotions, how to face difficulty without being ruled by it, Taming the dragon means using its power rather than letting it use you. Fear, for example, is not something to eliminate, it is something to understand. Fear exists to sharpen your senses, to make you more aware, to push you to prepare and act with intelligence. But if you let fear control you, it becomes paralyzing. The same applies to anger. Anger, when uncontrolled, leads to destruction, but when directed with purpose, it can become fuel for action. Pain can break you or it can forge you into something stronger. The choice is yours. Mastering the dragon means integrating it into who you are. You do not eliminate fear, you learn to act despite it. You do not erase hardship, you learn to grow from it. You do not deny the existence of pain, you transform it into strength. The dragon does not go away, but it no longer rules over you. Instead, you stand beside it knowing that you have mastered the very thing that once threatened to destroy you. And once you have done this, you become unstoppable. Because now, nothing can break you. You have faced your worst fears and survived. You have stood before the dragon and tamed it. And once you realize that, you carry yourself differently. You no longer fear challenges because you know you can handle them. You no longer hesitate in the face of adversity because you have already proven to yourself that you can endure. This is what it means to be truly strong. Not the absence of fear, not the avoidance of struggle, but the mastery of both. You must face the dragon, then tame it. And once you do, you will never be the same again.